Religious leaders from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East have arrived in Tehran to pay respect to Iran's late supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, ahead of multi-day farewell ceremonies. Delegations from Russia, India, China, Turkey, Iraq, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Hungary, and Bangladesh have already arrived in the country. Ceremonies begin July 4 at the Imam Khamenei Mosque, with mourners gathering over 2 days. A public funeral procession is set for July 6, followed by events in Qom on July 7 and burial at the Imam Reza Shrine in Mashhad on July 9. Officials say delegations from more than 90 countries will attend, including Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and senior representatives from Russia, China, India and Iraq. Khamenei was killed in the opening strikes of the US-Israeli offensive that sparked the Iran war. His son Mojtaba has been named successor. Algerians went to the polls Thursday in the country's first parliamentary election since major constitutional and electoral reforms. Footage from Algiers showed voters lining up outside polling stations before casting their ballots. Citizens urged strong participation, with many highlighting the importance of democracy and development. Turnout stood at just over 20% inside Algeria and around 10% among voters abroad, according to the National Independent Authority for Elections. Analysts stressed the need for integrity and transparency, noting the vote's goal is to build a robust parliament able to adapt to national and global challenges. Nearly 10,000 candidates are competing for 407 seats in the National People's Assembly, representing more than 24 million eligible voters. Malawi has launched Lenacapavir, a long-acting injectable HIV prevention drug in Lilongwe, as part of efforts to curb new infections. The symbolic handover of the drug took place on Thursday at Area 25 Hospital with HIV testing and a ceremony marking the rollout. Health Minister Madalitso Baloyi hailed the drug as a new tool in the fight against AIDS, while U.S. Embassy official Jonathan Fisher called it one of the most significant advances in HIV prevention in decades, noting clinical trials showed over 99% effectiveness. Lenacapavir is administered only twice a year, offering an alternative to daily pills. With around 7% of Malawians aged 15 and over living with HIV, officials hope the new option will help reduce transmission despite funding challenges. The Democratic Republic of Congo has launched the world's first clinical trial targeting the Bundibugyo strain of Ebola as health teams race to halt the current outbreak. Footage from Bunia showed officials at the CME Ebola Treatment Center, where wards are disinfected and medical staff prepare to enroll patients. INRB Director General Dieudonné Mwamba Kazadi said the trial would test monoclonal antibody MBP134 and the antiviral remdesivir alone or combined to improve survival rate. Researchers hope to recruit 500 participants over the next 3 to 6 months. Unlike the Zaire strain, Bundibugyo Ebola has no approved vaccine or treatment, making this study a critical step. The outbreak, declared in May, has already caused more than 1,400 confirmed cases and 438 deaths, prompting the WHO to classify it as a public health emergency of international concern. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has warned that the Ebola outbreak in eastern DRC continues to expand, with 1,406 confirmed cases and 438 deaths. Speaking in Geneva Thursday, Tedros said the outbreak is averaging 38 new cases daily, despite expanded testing in 10 laboratories, 650 treatment beds, and the launch of clinical trials for MBP134 and remdesivir. He noted challenges of mistrust and violence, citing an outbreak on an Ebola center in Ituri province that left 2 dead and forced patients to flee. Tedros also confirmed a no Marburg virus case in Uganda, while declaring the MV Honduras hantavirus outbreak over after 13 cases and 3 deaths. WHO says the DRC's Bundibugyo Ebola outbreak, declared in May, remains a public health emergency of international concern. The President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, received Libyan Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah in Abu Dhabi on Thursday. According to the Emirate news agency, the two leaders discussed bilateral relations and ways to strengthen cooperation in areas of mutual interest. They also exchanged views on regional development, including the situation in the Middle East, and emphasized efforts to promote stability and sustainable peace. Officials confirmed the Dbeibah's visit is a working trip, highlighting ongoing dialogue between the UAE and Libya. Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez has defended her government's response to the June 24 double earthquake during an international press conference in Caracas on Thursday. Joined by National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez and Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello, she said 4,000 personnel were deployed within 24 hours, rising to 14,000 the next day, with more than 19,000 now working in La Guaira state. Rodriguez also defended militarization of the area, accusing media laboratories of fueling chaos around the disaster zone. She thanked 147 countries for support and announced a $200 million reconstruction fund while seeking talks with the IMF and U.S. State Department. The conference was marked by questions over the speed of the state's response, which Rodriguez rejected as a generalization. She updated the toll to 2,595 dead, 12,400 injured, and 6,462 rescued so far. Russia has announced plans to open 4 new diplomatic missions in the Gambia, Liberia, Togo, and the Union of the Comoros, expanding its presence across Africa. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov confirms the move during a meeting of the Foreign Ministry's Business Council earlier this week, describing it as part of a broader push to strengthen ties and cooperation with African nations. With 45 embassies already operating on the continent, the new missions will raise Russia's footprint to 49 permanent sites. Lavrov said the expansion would deepen bilateral relations and support joint projects, underscoring Moscow's goal of achieving full diplomatic coverage across Africa. Hundreds of people joined a silent march in Paris on Thursday, marking 1,000 days of genocide in Gaza and paying tribute to victims of the war. Protesters dressed in black were seen carrying portraits of victims and doors symbolizing children killed, while others waved Palestinian, Lebanese, and Iranian flags. Placards read, "Not just numbers," and "Nurse killed by Israel." Organizers from Euro-Palestine said the march was driven by frustration over government inaction and what they called a defending silence. Protesters described unbearable conditions in Gaza and voiced doubt about peace, blaming arms and financial interests for prolonging the conflict. July 2 marked 1,000 days since Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel, which killed around 1,200 people. Israel's military campaign has since killed more than 73,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza health authorities. The genocide allegation remains before the International Court of Justice, while a UN inquiry has concluded Israel committed genocide, a charge Israel rejects. Russia and Tanzania have relaunched direct flights after a 5-year suspension, with celebrations marking the first service on Thursday. Footage from Moscow's Vnukovo airport showed passengers queuing to check in and officials getting a cake. Tanzanian Transport Minister Makame Mbarawa hailed the route as a bridge between the two nations, while Air Tanzania's Peter Ulanga highlighted tourism opportunities from Zanzibar's beaches to the Serengeti and Mount Kilimanjaro. Russia's Economic Development Minister Maxim Reshetnikov announced all tickets for upcoming flights were already sold out, crediting recent talks between President Vladimir Putin and Samia Suluhu Hassan. Tanzania's Tourism Minister Ashatu Kijaji called the relaunch historic, unveiling a memorandum of understanding to expand cooperation in tourism and investment. The national carrier will operate 3 weekly services on the Dar es Salaam Moscow-Zanzibar route with strong demand, filling flights from day one.